we go. Hi, my name is Jamerson Bryant, and this is my persuasive speech for Communications 101. This speech is a persuasive speech about concussions. The topic is important, and everyone involved in any type of physical activity can benefit from this information. My audience today is my wife, Crystal, and my mom and dad. Okay, so I'm going to identify the lack of caution with concussions and how regulations need to be reevaluated. My purpose is to persuade, to inform my audience about concussion awareness, and to persuade them that medical attention should be required for athletes that have been suspected to have a concussion. A punch from a boxer is equivalent to being hit by a 13-pound bowling ball moving at 20 miles per hour, carrying 52 G's of force. Do you think that would hurt? Yes, my head hurts just thinking about it. Many of you have loved ones who have or currently have played sports. They could be a victim to many medical problems because of the trauma they endure playing. I want to talk about concussions because for a couple of years as an athletic training student, I had the opportunity to see how athletes can be affected by this injury. If I can persuade you all to be more aware about this injury, I believe that you will have understanding in how serious it really is. This can help with the caution needed for people possibly involved in a concussion. I have been collecting research to prove that there is a major need for people to be aware of what a concussion is, what the signs and symptoms are, and also how to treat a concussion. There will also be a few examples to go along with the research that I've collected. Now, let's get started. A concussion is a mild traumatic brain injury which can occur after direct or indirect trauma to the head or even after whiplash. The brain lashes back and forth inside the skull, which can cause mild or even major damage to the brain. They are usually non-life-threatening, but can cause serious symptoms that require medical attention. While the brain is by far the most complex object on earth, it is soft and vulnerable with the consistency of firm pudding. Example is a driver hits their head on the steering wheel during an accident and it knocks them out. The direct trauma to the head usually will concuss the driver. Another example is shaken baby syndrome. Shaking can damage delicate nerves and cells in the brain. This can result in very significant injury or death. Now that you know what a concussion is and how it happens, let's move on. Next, signs and symptoms of a concussion. Many symptoms show up immediately after, and they are pretty obvious that the person is concussed if you're familiar with concussions. Immediate reactions can be brief loss of consciousness, nausea, vomiting, blurred vision, double vision, confusion, memory problems, balance problems, dizziness, drowsiness, sensitivity to light and noise, and slow reaction stimuli. Also, while recovering from concussions, the person who is concussed may be irritable and have sensitivity to light or noise, and also experience difficulty concentrating with a mild headache. An example of a slow reaction stimuli would be detected by an eye dilation test. When the pupil has delayed dilation from the light shining into the eye, this is a red flag that the concussion might be present. The importance of knowing these signs and symptoms is important because a mild headache that lingers from a contact sport can turn out to be a concussion, but the athlete never told anyone, or he or she was just thinking that they just had a constant headache. Now you know what to look for from people who are concussed. We will now talk about how to treat a concussion. Treatment for a concussion is very serious. You should always seek medical attention for suspected concussion. Seeking medical attention can provide imaging like MRI or CAT scan that can tell if there is severe brain damage or bleeding. After release of a person who is concussed, symptoms get worse, notify the doctor as soon as possible. The main ingredient for concussion recovery is rest, mentally and physically. Any vigorous exercises or sports and even television should be slim to none during the recovery. Going back to school or work should be gradual increase as the symptoms subside. Sending an athlete back on the field or allowing them to play can be very dangerous. Second impact syndrome, which is a rapid swelling of the brain caused by a concussion that is not fully healed. It can be very dangerous, causing major brain damage and highly likely to cause death. In 2006, a high school football player, Corey Leahy, suffered a concussion that led him to the hospital to get a CAT scan. The test came back normal, and he decided to practice the next week. The second impact syndrome did not claim his life, but now he has memory loss and cannot walk on his own. Return to play policy have been ruled into many sports and any level of competition. NATA.org states that athletes should be symptom-free for at least 7 days before they can even return back to the sport. With that being said, now you know what concussions are, their signs and symptoms, and their treatment for this injury. Hopefully, when you identify this, you will feel more confident. Also, being more aware can help people around you to understand how serious concussions really are. Now, if you are an athlete or you have loved ones who play sports or even know someone with a dangerous job, you can now educate them a little bit on concussions. Now, going back to that boxer's punch, man, it still makes my head hurt just thinking about it. Knowing how many times they are hit in the head makes me wonder how their brain can withstand blunt force trauma. I'm so